Young men trained in a new concept of war, proud, sure of themselves, but still to be tested in battle. They were destined for the high country of central Vietnam.
And all around the common paddy field that feeds these hamlets, a ring of fire. 150 homes were leveled in retaliation for a burst of gunfire.
Instead, they find 555 is probably the best number, 550 something, men, women, and children in this village, and they kill them all, or most of them, 99%, 95% of them. Put them in ditches and shoot.
On December 18th, Nixon unleashed round-the-clock airstrikes that flattened targets around Hanoi and Haiphong. It would be remembered as the Christmas bombing.
You came here at full strength?
Oh, I had 13 men when I came.
And it's 4 days later now, and how many are still here?
6.
And then there are the B-52 bombers striking from nearby Thailand. They pound the zone day in, day out with tons of explosives.
This is what the war in Vietnam is all about.
The conflict in Vietnam, never officially declared a war by the United States, is well known in the United States to have killed many Americans. This is an important fact for people to note because it truly is horrific how many young Americans the U.S. sent to die overseas. That being said, there's often too much of a focus on this American tragedy and not the tragedy that was put upon the Vietnamese people. On the tables in front of you, toy soldiers are about to fall from the sky that represent the number of casualties during the conflict. On the left table, there will be American casualties. On the right table, there will be Vietnamese casualties. Each soldier represents 10,000 people killed, and a new soldier will appear every half second. Let us begin. You probably noticed that the left side, representing American losses, has already stopped having new soldiers. It only took 3 seconds to reach our end of the American losses. The US officially lost around 58,000 soldiers in the conflict, which is represented by those 6 toy soldiers on the left. This is still a terrible loss, of course, but is currently being overshadowed by the still falling Vietnamese on the right. After 1 full minute, the right side has stopped dropping new soldiers. These 121 toy soldiers represent the approximately 1.2 million Vietnamese soldiers who died during the conflict, 110,000 from South Vietnam and 1.1 million from the North. This loss of life is extremely hard to comprehend, and while this experience does its best to demonstrate the numbers via space and time, there's no doubt that the sheer brutality is impossible to truly understand from any virtual application. Disclaimers aside, we're actually not quite done with our story regarding loss of life. To the surprise of 0 historians, the civilian loss of life during the Vietnam conflict is an important statistic that has been ignored thus far. In order to rectify this, let us begin, yet again, the dropping of toy soldiers. This time, they will be colored blue in order to differentiate them from the soldiers. Like before, each toy will represent 10,000 people, this time civilians, and one will be dropped every half second. After 20.5 seconds, the visualization of Vietnamese civilian deaths has completed. These 41 blue toy soldiers represent the estimated 415,000 Vietnamese citizens that were murdered during the United States' involvement in Vietnam. All because of the blind fear of communism, it was decided by the most powerful nation in the world that over 400,000 non-fighting human beings deserved to die. More specifically, they died because of the worry labeled the domino effect, the idea proposed by Western powers that if Vietnam fell to communism, then it would spread to the rest of Asia. That is to emphasize that the United States committed these killings not for the sake of stopping a world-changing communist superpower, but rather a small, impoverished nation that state interest deemed was getting out of line. Just to reiterate, none of this visualization is to delegitimize the number of Americans killed. Their deaths are just as much of a tragedy. That being said, this demonstration hoped to prove the sheer devastation that our anti-communist mission put upon the Vietnamese people, an idea that often takes a backseat in American discussion. Another illuminating statistic from the Vietnam War is the sheer amount of bombs that the United States dropped upon the Vietnamese people. This number is estimated to be around 5 million tons, which immediately is far too large and abstract to fully grasp. With the standard bomb size of 500 pounds used in the typical B-52 bomber, this brings our number of bombs dropped to 20 million. Again, we are brought to a number that is fairly difficult to comprehend, but at the bare minimum, we have moved from weight to amount. Said amount brings us to the bombing visualization. In the scene in front of you, there are 67 bombers, which will drop 3 bombs each. The total count of around 200 bombs means that each bomb represents 100,000 real-life bombs. Let us begin. It would be hard to overstate how devastating these bombs were, not only upon the country of Vietnam, but also on the region in general. An infamous U.S. bombing campaign was along the Ho Chi Minh Trail, a trade route through Cambodia that Vietnamese communists used. This specific bombing campaign, along with an influx of Vietnamese refugees, completely disrupted Cambodia in such a way that allowed the rise of the notorious Khmer Rouge. This regime was brutal to the Cambodian people, and more specifically, killed upwards of 1 million of its own people in the name of cultural revolution, labeled today as a genocide. Even ignoring the fact that the Khmer Rouge received United States backing based on the idea of them being a counterweight towards Vietnamese communism, the simply absurd amount of bombing during the Vietnam conflict ended up shaping the region as a whole. For a conflict that many considered to be none of our business, the idea is only made more disgusting by how much Western power dominated the region. Strategic firebombing on densely forested areas meant highly effective destruction, and the lack of ability to retaliate in any way from such an impoverished nation makes this strategy all the less justified. All of this being said, it makes it all the more impressive that the United States failed in its goal of taking over Vietnam with capitalist powers, and that Vietnam remains a socialist nation to this day. With their impressive guerrilla tactics and passion for their country, they successfully held out against the most powerful and brutal nation in the world. This failure only makes all of the destruction that much more devastating. So many lives lost for nothing. This is the way we must remember the Vietnam War, a disgustingly one-sided conflict staged for all of the wrong reasons, without even a quote-unquote success to show for it. After these predefined visualization experiences, we are now brought to the interactive element of visualization. In front of you are two spheres, which will show you the ratio of a given statistic to another statistic. You can freely choose which two statistics, using the horizontal axis on the left thumbstick to change the statistic on the left, and using the horizontal axis on the right thumbstick to change the statistic on the right. With this more generalized environment, we hope that you can explore the world of Vietnam War statistics in a unique way. Enjoy.